Greetings. Welcome to the Captive Desk. In this video, we're going to give a listen to Ken Ammi talking to SJ about aliens, demons, and the occult. And I see James has joined. Hello, James.
Hello there. Can you hear me okay? Do I need to turn my gain up?
Turn up just a little bit.
Okay. What about now?
Sounds great.
Okay.
And hello, everybody in the chat. Logan, James is obviously here. Tux, Sydney, and of course, Pragmatic Crystal. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. I've been interested in doing an alien video with all the congressional hearings going on and in the news and people coming out of the woodwork with alien stories and everything, UFOs, and Stephanie's here. Hello, Stephanie. And along came SJ doing this interview with Ken Ammi. And I was like, well, this is good timings. I get to talk about aliens and we'll respond a little bit to what SJ and Ken have to say. And before we get going, a bit about Ken Ammi. I got this from his own page and everything. It says, Ken Ammi is a longtime independent researcher and lecturer on issues pertaining to worldview philosophies and various sorts of religions, who has specialized in systematic biblical paranormology. Ken believes, quote, the concept of free thinking is deeply rooted in the Bible itself, as in the Bible, we find firm belief, we find doubt, we find skepticism, we find rebellion, we find every facet of human reactions towards and against the divine. Some people label themselves skeptic when they really mean cynic, unquote. As a skeptic, I would point out that although the Bible mentions those things, it also condemns them. Ken writes a lot of blogs and books arguing against atheism, that the Bible is true because it says so, and delving into giants and aliens must be real in some sense of the words, as the Bible mentions them, and some type of conspiracy for a one world government of demons against Christianity and finding persecution against his religion in it all. So there's my opening. What do you think, James? Are you ready?
No, I'm ready. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Okay. So I'd like to start by letting everybody know, don't worry, don't panic. Aliens do not exist. We totally aren't real. We would never come to your planet even if we were.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna I've got this video already pre-made. It's cut up, and the breaks in between I have some notes already, and then we'll see what James has to say, and we'll go from there. And again, if anybody else wants to hop in, welcome to join. And here we go.
Everybody, I am here with Ken Ammi, and he has a Twitter feed called Atheism is Dead. And so you can get his general thesis there. But we're going to talk today about something different. We're going to talk about UFOs or UAPs or unidentified flying objects, space aliens, all that kind of good stuff. And he has written, I believe, around 8 books on aliens. And so he has a lot of perspectives on it. You can see a couple of the book covers on the thumbnail here. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ken.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure speaking to you again. It's been way too long.
Yeah, I agree. I've had you on my channel before, just as an individual. I had you on, then you came on and you debated Jeff Williams. And the debates are always interesting.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. So, okay, well, let's talk about these unidentified flying objects, because it seems like, here's what I'll say, the little I know. So since around the 1920s, 1930s, it seems the government and others have been making claims that there are UFO sightings, and they're going on all over the world. And there's some people like Stephen Greer and David Grush who have testified, or just at least gotten in front of the presidents or gotten in front of Congress to say that the government's involved in some way, but there are these UFOs and flying Tic Tacs and all this kind of stuff is going on. The craziest thing I heard was when David Grush said to Congress that they somehow had collected non-human biologics. That's what they called it. And so I thought, that's weird. But I didn't know the angle we're going to take today, because I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read your book, so I'm not sure what we're going to do. If we're going to talk about non-human biologics, or if we're going to propose that maybe there's some sort of demonic dimension going on here. So what do you think?
Well, you leave that up to me. So
Okay, indeed, SJ. There has been a lot of talk recently about UFOs and aliens, and I've been wanting to address some of what is going on, so your video is good timing. I do not find the people making these claims that the government has aliens and parts of alien spacecraft to be credible, nor are many of those in Congress behind calling for these hearings. Are aliens demonic? I'm going to go out on a limb here, since this is a religious channel and you are both religious. I am going to guess yes, the aliens are demons is going to come up. What do you think, James?
Oh, I just think there's no way around it. It's going to happen. So everybody get your bingo cards out. Find out.
All right, and here we go.
this is actually a good example of my MO when it comes to virtually anything I discuss. I like to define terms first so that we understand what we're actually talking about. And that's with everything, whether I'm talking about evolution or giants or what have you. What are we talking about? Let's not jump into the middle of it. So if you don't mind, I'm going to attempt to screen share a few slides to kind of wrap our heads around what even are we talking about when it comes to these plural phenomena. And I'm going to see if, there we go, this should, I need to show you. Okay, so if we start here, can you all see that?
Let me put it up on the thing. Okay, we can see it.
So this is basically me just saying, look, there's the quote unquote aliens phenomena, there's the quote unquote UFOs phenomena, and those are two main categories of phenomena that aren't necessarily related. Because there's people who say that they interact with aliens, and there's people who say they see UFOs, but the ones that interact with aliens don't necessarily see UFOs, and the ones who see UFOs don't necessarily interact with aliens. And yet there is that third subcategory where people say, well, I've had experience with both. So that's just to start categorizing this, right? So when we talk about aliens, when we talk about UFOs, those may be completely unrelated issues, right? Because you could see something in the sky and say, oh, what's that? Oh, I don't know. So just because of that, that doesn't mean you can just jump to the inclusion of, well, therefore it's aliens necessarily. I mean, I had a UFO sighting a few years ago, and it's literally just something. I have no idea what it was, but that's as far as I can go. It was just something, and I didn't know what it was. To insert aliens into it, then you're in another ballgame, another category, and you need a certain amount of data to take that jump. And so there's those two main and then one subcategory, and that leads us to subcategories. So let's say under UFOs, well, there's people who claim that they are alien craft, and those can either be a subcategory of a nuts and bolt vehicle or some sort of energy orbs or some kind of morphing, right, like shape-shifting thing, amorphous, right? Or UFO, again, literally meaning unidentified by definition, and flying or mindless floating as far as tactile objects. Could be some kind of atmospheric phenomena like clouds, ball lightning, that sort of thing. Could be just a good old-fashioned aircraft that you don't recognize, or birds, balloons, satellites. Could be some kind of hoax or some kind of secret government tech, and that would kind of loop us over to the aircraft. That's something of which we're not aware. Such as when people started reporting seeing black triangular UFOs, and then after a few years we learned of the stealth fighter. And what does that look like? Well, it looked black and triangular. People were just completely unfamiliar with that being just a secret government experiment airplane. It was a UFO because they couldn't identify it by definition. And on the alien side, well, here they say that they either come from within our universe, another solar system, and then conveniently the farther reaches of space, because it's kind of well known that in the early contactee movement, people who were claiming to deliver messages from aliens say, well, the aliens say they're from our solar system, right? They're from Mars, they're from Venus, they're from whatever planets. But then the more we explored those planets and recognized that either there's no life on them or there could be, as far as we know, then they started saying, well, we really come from further away, you know, to where it's kind of the Pleiades and places like that. Well, then we started kind of examining those places, and they end up saying, well, we're really just from further away where humans haven't looked yet.
Wait, this is what the aliens are telling the humans?
Right.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's well known that they keep coming from farther and further away places the more we explore the universe and recognize that it can't be true. So then they jump to, well, the next subcategory, we actually come from an alternate reality, right? Another dimension, another universe, you name it, because then it's inaccessible to humans. And so it's convenient to just kind of have them say that, no, we don't really come from the solar system or even your entire universe. We come from somewhere wholly other to where you humans don't have access. So, take our word for it. And along those lines, sometimes the claims are that these are biological organisms. Sometimes that they're sort of spirit, or something we'll be discussing is whether they're angels or demons. Some are just government ops, right? Operations, secret government operations. And some, of course, are just good old-fashioned hoaxes. And so those are kind of the subcategories. So what I'm emphasizing is when somebody says alien, you got to try to figure out what they're talking about to begin with. In fact, I was in a comment section today with somebody saying that the Genesis 6 affair, as I call it, actually had to do with aliens. And I said, well, yeah, by definition, angels are aliens. They're extraterrestrial. They're not from Earth. So yeah, of course. But that just kind of gives you an example of how these word games are played. So he meant something very different by the word aliens, but I just contextualized it as, well, yeah, by definition, not from here. That's all it may mean. Then when we get into the issue of the human experience with these phenomena, and plural phenomena, could be a dream, could be hallucination, some kind of hypnotic suggestion.
Okay, not bad. Defining terms is a good start to a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I agree something in the sky does not equate to an alien spacecraft, and that not everyone that claims to have an encounter reports seeing both an alien and a UFO or their spacecraft, and some claim to have seen both, nor has everyone interacted with them, but some claim they interacted with both aliens and their spacecraft. Most of Ken's definitions here are okay, I guess, although the supernatural claims should be separate from ones that have a natural explanation. But all in all, it's not bad.
Yeah, I like it.
What do you think? Did he do it? He's doing it okay so far?
Well, he broke it down very well, and it gives him extra credibility to say, okay, it's at least not always legitimate, right? There's no way all of these claims really boil down to somebody really had an encounter with an alien or a demon or an angel or whatever, right? Because if he flies right off the handle and goes, oh, it's all real, everybody's going to write him off as a nut job, right? So you've got to take the time to build up your own credibility by taking the time to say, okay, look at all these examples of things that may or may not be legitimate, right? And I think that also just breaking down terms is good because we're going to move forward and use certain expressions and ideas, and people have to know what you're talking about because a lot of these terms get used interchangeably in various discussions. And part of that, and a lot of it's going to be because of cultural influence, right? If you grow up in a society where nobody talks about aliens, but everybody talks about the chupacabra, right? Then a lot of things are going to get attributed to the chupacabra. Or if nobody's talking about aliens, everybody's talking about angels, a lot of those experiences are going to be chalked up to angels. Now, it could be that some of those experiences have some merit to them. There's certainly some people in the government that think so. There's some pretty intelligent people that think, yeah, there could be something to this. I don't really know if the people I follow, like, I don't know, does Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, think it's real? I have no idea. Like, I don't know if he said or not, but I've had some experiences that I've never been able to make sense of outside of cultural context, right? So that's one of the things I'll probably take some time to talk about tonight. But he's done a good job of setting up the situation first.
And I want to say hi to Maya, and Classy is here. Thanks for joining us. I think I said hi to everybody else. I just saw them join. Welcome. Talking about aliens. And it is interesting that the stories about aliens have changed from living on the moon to other planets, to other galaxies, and now to other dimensions as science discovered these claims to not be credible. Sounds more like they were making it up rather than the aliens are changing their stories, as the contrary would seem to lend more credence to the claims. Let's say aliens told people about the internet we have now hundreds or thousands of years ago, and someone wrote it down. That would be pretty amazing. Yet, stories seem to always reflect the understandings of the day, and they lack any real foresight into the future. And pointing to what James was saying, cultural influences and everything have a big driving force as to what people can imagine at the time. I would point out to Ken, people at different times in the past believed gods were on mountains, then in the sky, then in the heavens, and now they are outside of our universe in another dimension, also as people began to climb mountains and there was nothing there. And they flew in the sky and there was nothing there. And some of the early astronauts, even that were believers, even thought they might get a glimpse of heaven when they went up in the Apollo programs. But it wasn't there. So there is a parallel that I think he isn't drawing selectively, between how the religious stories and the alien stories and the occult stories and everything else we're going to talk about all have the parallel of, once science gets to a point of proving, let's say, there are no people living on the moon, then you have to move them to Mars. Then you have to move them to Alpha Centauri. And then you have to move them to another dimension as science catches up and finds out, nope.
Yeah, that's the most skeptical, rational explanation for it. But I'd like to just throw it out there that it's possible that the alien, demonic, angel people are keeping a close eye on us, and every time we get closer, they move further away, right? Because they don't want to get cooties from humans, right? They don't want to deal with us, right? Like, we ruin every neighborhood we move into. They hate to be racist. Some of their best people are humans, but man, they just can't jive with that, right? So every time we get closer, they move
we're going by Earth. Roll up your windows.
Exactly. The bad neighborhood. Don't stop if you don't have to.
And hello, Brian and UC. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And as far as the discussion about aliens, if you aren't working in immigration, it's about LGMs, which are little green or gray or black or kind of foggy and blurry extraterrestrial men/beings. I think Ken is trying to muddy the terms and understandings of them just a little bit already there. By what do you mean by aliens? I'm pretty sure if you're talking about aliens, and I say it's not an immigration issue, James, what are you thinking an alien is if it's not an illegal immigrant?
An alien is whatever you can't make sense of. Any sentient entity that you just find unrelatable or that you don't think belongs here, right? So,
we're talking ET, right? That's what comes to mind, right?
When it depends on the context, right? If I hear politicians arguing about illegal aliens, I know what they're talking about. But if I hear, NASA talking about the potential for alien life, I also know that they're talking about something else. It just depends.
And
I want to say hi to everybody that said hi to me. I'm not ignoring you. Just great to see everybody here.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody. And I agree with what he said, that most of these claims can be attributed to dreams, nightmares, and being mistaken for many, many reasons. So he is making some good points in there, although he slips in some things that I don't know the wording for it, but he's slipping them in there.
He's been a little bit clever, but just to err on the side of caution, I think AR is right. We need to build.
Hello, AR.
We need that bigger wall to keep out the little green man. Build that space wall.
All right, let's get to the next clip.
Coming from farther and further away places, the more we explore the universe and recognize that it can't be true. So then they jump to, well, the next subcategory, we actually come from an alternate realities, right? Another dimension, another universe, you name it. Because then it's inaccessible to humans. And so it's convenient to just kind of have them say that, nah, we don't really come from the solar system or even your entire universe. We come from somewhere wholly other to where you humans don't have access. So, take our word for it.
And I've heard this before. And I went looking.
But there's also evidence that there's deception involved in these encounters. Because when people claim to have had conversation with these UFO beings, they will claim, well, in fact, if you go back 100 years ago, they were saying they were from the backside of the moon. But when the public became educated enough to realize that's not credible, they changed their story and said, well, we're from Venus. And when people realized how hot it is on the surface of Venus, they said they were from Mars. Well, now they're claiming to be from another planetary system. So the fact that they keep changing their story.
Indeed. And Hugh Ross has been saying this for quite a while. And I'm pretty sure somebody's repeating him almost word for word. This has been repeated by many, including Hugh Ross, that the stories have changed, so they must be deceivers rather than people just didn't know any better at the time. The fact that the story keeps changing should indicate it's a matter of fiction based on the times and what was known about the natural world we live on, and what other planets, moons, stars, and galaxies must be like, until science progressed to know better than the stories assumed and imagined, especially from long ago, before the modern age of science, no longer hold water.
Yeah, absolutely. Reminds me a lot of the way Bible stories changed so much over time. You would think that this would indicate that at least the stories we're hearing now can't be true because they're not even the original versions. But people believe what they want to believe.
And next clip.
While I wait for that to load, I want to point out that I had an opportunity to make fun of my last name again, and I appreciate the opportunity. Did you see that?
People who claim to be channeling the spirits of dead humans have the same shtick as the people who claim to be channeling aliens from elsewhere, wherever they may come from. It's the same exact shtick. And that should tell us something right then and there, that it's either a complete fraud or there's that I certainly would consider inevitable correlation between occultism and these phenomena. And that's something that we'll talk about. This to me is part of what I did when I sought to discover why it was that the so-called gray alien became the poster children of alien. I mean, people have claimed to have seen all kinds of aliens, but the gray alien is certainly the most recognizable. No question about that. And when I sought to understand how that came about, especially in terms of the interaction of pop culture and the real actual culture in which we live and the history of ideas and that type of thing, I found that once I looked back to H.G. Wells, who wrote an essay called The Man of the Year Million, I was essentially done at that moment when I found that. Because what he was saying in 1893 is he was just writing an essay speculating about, well, what will humanity look like a million years from now, right? And these illustrations were made based on his description. And he's saying that humanity would become a lot more intellectual. So according to the evolution theories of his day, that would mean a bigger brain. And what you need to house a bigger brain? Well, you need a bigger skull. And then the bodies are very diminutive because our machinery, our high tech is doing the manual type of menial tasks for us. So humanity wouldn't need large bodies anymore. And in fact, what they're depicting there is that they're dipping themselves into a vat of nutrients. So they don't even need big mouths to eat or anything like that because they're just absorbing the nutrients.
And yes, I was in the live chat there. She was putting my comments up. Well, I hope you appreciate some of my graphics I've been putting in there. Having a little fun there with putting the aliens and everything in. But Ken, people who make up things use the same shtick, like not being falsifiable. I would lean towards it not being true, and that would include the occult. The gray alien phenomena peaked around the time of the Betty and Barney Hill abduction in the 1960s and has waned ever since. They were largely based on science fiction in print and on the big screens and on TV in the home. This also occurs with other supernatural claims that often mimic stories in some form of media recently read or viewed or heard about. Now, the idea that you can just grow a giant head whilst the body wastes away is mostly science fiction and doesn't really align with biology nor physics on what a being with a giant head would look like. And I made a little graphic to demonstrate. So here it goes.
Nice. Oh my
So
gosh.
you can grow a giant head, but you need something to hold it up, or you're not going to be in a good way, right?
Yeah, I find a nice athletic cup helps. So Pragmatic Crystal says, their entire family is ate up with conspiracy theories. It's truly sad. It's like they lost all their intelligence. So my theory about that is that the aliens, shot them with a special ray gun, and it made them kind of wonky. But just tell them to walk it off. Walk it off. It'll be all right.
So, yes, you can. Obviously, an elephant has a giant head. A bear, some of the other large mammals that run around have large heads. A moose has a large head. It's also got a large neck and large upper body, and descending all the way down the frame to hold that all up and support that all up, and all the muscles that have to be tied in and everything else to hold it all up. So unless you're implanting some type of artificial, or unless an alien species has super different kind of bones than us, it just doesn't really make sense to have a giant head and a teeny tiny little body. It's really cute in Mars Attacks and Marvin Martian and all the rest of them. And that's mostly because in those kinds of things, the exaggeration is part of the comedy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like with infants, right? It's just that we, can see the humor in never being able to sleep again. So they got that big giant head, and you're like, "Aw." The charm wears off after a while, but at first it's really nice.
But if we go by what we know and about physics and biology and how different species are built, it seems to me that having a big giant head and a tiny little body is science fiction, or you would have to be some type of medical experiment or something.
Absolutely.
And next.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead if you want.
So is your position that, I mean, let's figure out what this position is. So your position is that when H.G. Wells developed this image, that other people have now, this image kind of pops into people's mind, and you even see it on Bugs Bunny with the Martian, and you see it all over the place with these, and it's just one guy comes up with an image, everybody else kind of copies it, and so now when people say they encounter aliens, they have that image, but either they don't really encounter aliens, or they encounter aliens, and the aliens purposely get themselves into an image that looks like that. Is that possible?
Yes, it touches upon that sort of concept of, like I said, that's why I refer to the history of ideas. How do these things come about, and how are they perpetuated? So much. I think I might actually answer a lot of your question as I progress here, because as I traced this basic idea through especially golden era sci-fi and fantasy literature and comic books and all of that stuff, I found things like this from a text of the late 1800s called Etty Dor. It's really Aphrodite backwards. For whatever reason, the guy he's talking about inner Earth dwellers. So again, just like in H.G. Wells, they weren't aliens. Neither are these. They're just dwellers of the inner Earth, and they're described as less than 5 feet in height, skin color lightly blue bloody, forehead extends in an unbroken plane from the crown to the bone, and chubby tip of an abortive nose without nostrils formed. Short projection. There was no sense of eyes, or there were no sockets. So in this case, the description, maybe not the description, but the description in and of itself is very alien-like, besides the eye issue. Then jumping to the issue I've already touched upon a couple times, this is infamous occultist Aleister Crowley's illustration of a being with whom he claims to have interacted in 1919 and thereabouts.
Now he's a famous atheist, right?
Well,
Or an occultist?
definitely occultist, and that's another term that might need definition, but he's like the infamous occultist, right? And he called this character Lamb, and if you notice, what do you got? Little body, big giant head. And the OTO, Order Templi Orientis, has a ritual whereby they stare at this thing meditatively, and they claim that right above what appear to be little tiny eyes, you can actually see in the illustration that there's the outline of much bigger, stereotypically almond-shaped eyes that I kind of shaded in over here. So there you have that correlation between whatever this is supposed to be and the occult. This too, OTO, Typhonian OTO, occult organization, same thing. They're publishing this newsletter, and there's that same kind of physiognomy, right? That same kind of look.
Wait, so who's publishing that newsletter? What is that?
The OTO. So Aleister Crowley was a member of the OTO, Order Templi Orientis.
Oh, okay.
This is the Typhonian branch of the OTO. The same thing, correlation to occultism. So now we jump back to, and this is going chronological, by the way. That's why it's kind of like jumping categories. But like if you look at this, little body, big head, and what is it? 1927, the machine man, right? So another concept of this is actually a human being. It's just that through high tech and evolution and all that stuff, it ends up looking like this. This is not an alien; it's a man, right?
So they think, so these people posit that we're going to look pretty disproportional in the future, a million years out.
And this tells it to you right here, 1931, the man who evolved. And what does the man who evolved look like? Spindly little body and big giant head. I mean, it's H.G. Wells all over again, and perpetuated again, basically. And even here, you have this this character saying, "One more jolt of my evolution ray, Captain Comet, and you'll be a giant bodiless brain, just like me." So again, you have this human being who is artificially evolved to the point that he's got a little tiny body and a giant head, and the ultimate, the more evolved being flying around in some kind of flying saucer is just nothing but a brain at this point, right?
You know what's the funny part? I'm thinking about this, the evolution. Now, if you think about how a baby grows up, when babies are born, they have little tiny bodies compared to their head. It's like we're evolving back to be proportionally babies.
Yeah, it's like ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny style of thing there. Then another publication, and look at the title, If Tomorrow Comes, Here with the World, right? So again, forward looking into the future, and what would humanity look like? Big giant head, big eyes. And then of course, probably the most well-known alien face was commissioned by Whitley Strieber to be put on the cover of his book Communion. Now, I actually asked Strieber why it is that he refers to those beings as visitors and specifically grays. But I said, well, why do you call them grays? Why this one isn't gray? And all he said is, I don't know, that's just what I saw. So,
so he's saying he actually saw one of these things?
Oh yeah,
and they look like that. Now let's look at this image here. Now you notice if you've ever listened to exorcists when they talk about these exorcisms, a lot of times people's eyeballs, the pupils turn completely black. So it's kind of interesting that the demon there has those black eyeballs.
Yes, and there is a medical phenomenon where the pupil expands until it covers the entire white of the eye. So that kind of could show you that something's definitely going on internally within that person or that being to result in that. So then again here, Atlas, all thinking. So this being, this person who has given themselves over to just nothing but thought, where is being depicted as having a big brain and need a big skull along with it. Even the Wizard of Oz got into the act.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that's just bizarre, that kind of a depiction, right? So a more advanced and powerful being depicting himself as that. And then again, Tales of Wonder, publication, World of Tomorrow. And what does the guy from Tomorrow look like? Big head. I mean, it's over and over again. And here, even Superman, when his pal Jimmy Olsen gets these superpowers, right, becomes big-headed. It's just
the coincidence is
his brain as
when people say you have a big head, a lot of times it's referring to a big ego, and so kind of the pride and ego kind of all goes together.
That's good. And then even Superman himself ended up there as he's in this tubular thing. Superman out of the future.
Look at this Captive Desk. I just noticed his little icon, or whatever you call it, his little avatar looks like kind of an alien. Captive Desk in the chat.
So again, look at the Superman of the future. How is he depicted? His head grew. And even the Flash, so physically and mentally.
So we can show that all through our culture in recent years, relatively recent years, there have been numerous depictions of these things, and they all kind of follow each other in a way.
Right, and the concept is, so what I found, ironically, in transhumanism and in the alien phenomena is the unholy trinity, and three elements of which are essentially always bound together, and that's evolution, high tech, and occultism.
No, this is not a live stream. This was like a week or two back, I think.
Yeah. It was, I see Deconverted Man out there. Good to see it. Yeah, this was a few days ago or something, however long it took me to make the video since I saw it, because I started working on it as soon as I saw it. And yes, I was all over the live chat. SJ and I are civil, so, I'm commenting and, she puts up my comments. So now, as far as the gray or green alien with the large triangle-shaped head, it is pop culture that most people recognize as an alien. However, and Ken mentioned it, aliens have also been depicted in countless ways in print and in films, TV shows, video games, and now they're streaming them all over the place too, okay? And I was playing around with some AI, so the graphics you're seeing I made up in the AI, I hope you appreciate them. They were pretty cool. And there you go, too. You want an alien, you can make up anything you want. Just tell the AI what you want. It'll make an alien any way you want. Now, cherry picking certain drawings while leaving out many others, as well as pointing out that's one person who may have had an interest in the occult, so it's all connected somehow, is a sharpshooter fallacy, among many others. The subtle jabs at evolution seem to be there, but that aside, you cannot just zap someone with a ray gun and give them a giant head. It's not going to be a good thing to not be able to hold your head up, nor being unable to breathe or eat or have any feeling from the neck down. If an upright being on two legs like us evolved to have a big head, it should have a big neck and body to hold it up too. There is no evidence of demons or possession or exorcisms being anything but mental illness or a hoax, nor do all depictions of aliens have black eyes. Evolution, high tech, and occultism. That's his unholy trinity, I think he called it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I think he's just throwing some terms out there to catch people with a hook, ooh, it says evolution, ooh, occultism, and oh, this high tech must have something to do with it. I have no idea, but if somebody can figure it out, let me know. Ken may see the connection there. I'm not seeing it. And as far as my avatar goes, we'll catch that real quick. My avatar is question marks, but I guess when it's real small, it was mistaken for an LGM, and that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe she saw the little green thing there, but it's question marks. It wasn't an alien, but just wanted to clear that up.
Fair. I'd like to remind everybody the link is in the description for anybody that would like to join and be part of the discussion.
I've got it pinned. If you want to hop in, you're welcome. So what do you think, James? What is the evolution, high tech, and occultism unholy trinity? Have you processed that yet?
He's just throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it, hoping that some of it will sound legitimate to somebody. Which I'm fine with. Like, go all out, see if we can make something out of it. But even when Mexico, I don't know if you're going to cover this later or not, but was it Mexico? Somebody south of the border recently had an international press conference where they have these pictures of these 2 excavated alien bodies that they absolutely insist are the real deal, and have invited the international scientific community to come and thoroughly inspect these to verify that it's legitimate. And it didn't even look remotely real to me, but it did catch everybody's attention, right? It's got people talking.
It looked terrible.
Yeah,
it was laughable.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of memes. If you're on any of the social medias, you've probably seen them. Paper mache Martians, Martian cake.
Yeah.
All right, here is the. We'll go to the next clip here. Here we go.
They go hand in hand. Don't ask me why, but I've noticed that pattern time and time again in transhumanism and the alien phenomenon.
And notice it's always a corruption of exactly what Christ does. Like they have Christ on the cross between, I think Ross pointed this out, Christ was on the cross between 12 and 3 in the afternoon. So a lot of times some of these supposed alien abductions just happen to occur between midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, the demon hours. And so Christ appeared on the cross, it's kind of like this, and then the demons invert the cross. And so not demons. Yeah, I guess demons. Demons are satanic people, satanic cults, all that. And notice with the cults too, the only one they ever go after is Jesus. They don't go after Buddha or Hindus or anything like that. They like to discount Jesus.
Absolutely. It is 99% anti-Bible, anti-Christian, anti-Jesus message that they give to us. And 1% anti-miscellaneous, I guess. That right there speaks volumes to us.
Who's the they that's only going after Christians? Atheists?
When people talk to aliens, they're telling them not to believe in Jesus.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And again, another example. Visit from when? The future.
Let me tell you something. One of my students is working at NASA, and she said that they're pouring in a bunch of investment to get us to Mars. Like that's what she said. Like the government,
right.
NASA. Which Ross said would cost well into the trillions, like way too unaffordable for us to build something that human could survive on.
Yeah, I remember him talking about that on your show and referring to that the spacecraft would have to be like 10 miles long or something.
Yeah. Oh, you saw that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This one's from the movie AI. And I found it interesting because when I first saw the movie, I thought, oh, okay, what happens is that this android ends up thousands of years into the future. And it interacts with these beings, whom I thought were aliens just by the way they look. But Steven Spielberg ended up saying that, well, no, they're not aliens. They're just silicon-based high tech. They're basically androids of the future. And what do they look like? Look, we've been tracing.
Yeah.
So now what ends up
always bald. The aliens are always bald. Where'd their hair go? That's the thing. It's like it's a corruption on made in the image of God. Not to say that bald men can, but they're bald. You never see any with any hair.
Well, hey, maybe we could start a franchise. Toupees for aliens.
Wait, is she saying that bald people are a corruption of the image of God? Is that what she's saying? Wow, she must really have a problem with some bald guy. Some bald guy must have did her wrong in the past.
Apparently, God has quite the head full of locks. And so, yeah, if you don't, which doesn't make any sense because it's not just men, women equally as much, not as maybe as much hair, but men and women about equally lose hair as we age. It's just something that happens.
All of this stuff, and when it comes to occultism and transhumanism and really any philosophy that is unbiblical, ungodly, unchristian, it is inevitably a corruption of God's created order.
Mhm.
That's what's going on in our culture today as well. That's all it is. It all
Yeah.
comes down to a corruption of God's created order. So now
Oh,
these I
yeah,
chose the examples of
hey.
what are
They had to,
Somebody,
they had to
somebody,
slip that in there.
somebody made a point in the chat, but there's a bald guy in the Bible, right? And so
Mhm.
pragmatic Christo's talking. Well, I want to jump ahead too much. So the bald guy in the Bible, you make fun of him, and then she bears come and kill you, right? So here she is, AJ Thompson, making fun of bald people, and I'm
SJ.
thinking, SJ Thompson. So I'm thinking now maybe somebody needs to call up the she bears, the cocaine bear at the very least, because we cannot
Well,
let that rest.
there's this thing, and I'll point it out in a minute here about the bald aliens.
blunt about evolution in the future. But in between all of these, what happens is, I guess it's a concept of how many times can you tell the same story. So what happened in the fantasy literature and sci-fi literature is eventually, it seems to me as the observer, as the researcher, that they got tired of telling the same story over and over and over again, that, well, this is a person from the future and they evolved, so now they have a little body and a big head. And all of a sudden, they started telling stories about, oh, no, these are actually aliens from other planets or the vast distances of the universe or other universes. See, they kind of found a new little spin to put on it. And to me, that's how we ended up with this figure of the great alien. Okay, and now there's just a few more slides I wanted to show. For example, the one on the left is an illustration of an alien that a person claims to have actually seen, but the middle and the right are just from an old-fashioned TV show, a sci-fi TV show. And obviously this person, either consciously or not, picked up on that depiction of aliens and then ended up claiming that they problem. Really, I mean, aliens look like, I don't know, some kind of makeshift, cheesy human uniform with a strap across, left to right, same exact way.
Oh, I think he's frozen. You froze a little bit.
No.
Oh, there you are. You're back. You just froze just a little bit.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I definitely think makeshift and cheesy is right. That's the last thing I heard from you.
well, see, the point was that the illustration on the left is somebody who claimed to actually have seen an alien. But if you look at the sci-fi at the time, they were depicting aliens on a certain TV show as looking just like that. So obviously, this person consciously or not picked up on that look and claimed, oh, I actually saw that alien.
So there's a few options here. So one option is they didn't really see the alien. They made it up in their mind. Option B is they saw the alien and it's really a demon who disguised himself as an alien. And then option C is that they saw nothing and they're just bluffing and making stuff up trying to get attention.
Or just watching sci-fi movies and TV shows and either consciously or not talking themselves into, well, consciously would either talking themselves into believing that this is real, or they're just have some mental instability and then they hallucinate. Who knows? There's a lot of phenomena that could cover that. But if you look at the picture on the middle and right, again, just look at the basic sash across the body and the uniform, and the one on the left being a supposed witnessed alien, along with these, the Barney and Betty Hill case, Patty Price case, Mario Restier case. They all have that same basic uniform on. Where no one's going to depict aliens looking like that anymore because it's just not fashionable in sci-fi anymore, right? But
yeah,
same here. I mean, why do all of these supposed real eyewitness accounts, they're all dressed the same? I mean,
now what about the claim from David Grush that these non-human biologics were piloting these Tic Tacs? Now he also said he didn't name exactly what particular parts of the bodies they have retained, but I'm wondering what you think about that.
Funny. The claim is, hey, look at that.
I love that spaceship.
Flying in an unusual manner that we're not used to seeing, ergo aliens. And I'm just not really sure. Besides the fact that those guys are making a living off of selling alien tales, I'm not sure why you would make that jump. For instance, I'm sure it looked really impressive when we all first saw the video, but by now the trigonometry's been done on the Tic Tac. We now know mathematically that it was going like 40 miles an hour. I mean, it's not tragically impressive. I can get in my car and drive much faster than that. So it's been done. Trigonometry.
Was it really only okay? So they've done, because I thought they thought it was going more like 15,000 miles an hour.
Yes, initially, and also by those who keep perpetuating it, so they have a story to tell. But the math has been done. I mean, it's on paper, and anybody could double check it. It's a done deal.
Interesting. I'll have to go find that.
Yeah, I can't remember the gentleman's name who did the mathematics, and then NASA double checked him, and they put out some kind of report about it. Yeah, that's.
Now, Jedediah says, I just want to comment. Here in India, it's very common to see demons literally manifest. They look physical, but they're interdimensional beings. Jesus Christ, they disappear.
Yes.
I believe that because I've had my own experience. When I say the Our Father and the Hail Mary, boom.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. And again, why would there be that one name that aliens fear? Right? They're just traveling from another part of the universe. What do they care?
Exactly. So that's the thing. I mean, if you listen to people who've, exorcists talk about this kind of stuff too, the manifestations and that kind of thing. And so I think these beings are. Oh no, I lost count. I'll be back. You might have hit the wrong button. I think that these beings are alien. I mean, I believe that we are in a spiritual battle. This is spiritual warfare here in this world, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Susan says she hears Dr. Michael Brown talk about the spiritual battles that go on in India. Captive Death says he says they're invisible aliens and debris. Oh, Ken's back. Okay, good. Here we go.
I got it back.
You got abducted. Yeah, I just wanted to say, he was talking about spiritual battles in India. I just want to add one little thing on that. The interesting thing about India is with its Hindu religion and thousands of gods is I've talked to people like Rob Rowe. He's got that Sentinel Apologetics, and he's from India, and he was talking about just some of the activity that goes on there with the demonic spirits and how crazy it is. Here's Dr. Ross says 1 to 10% of residual alien activity is due to demon behavior. He studied that, so that's.
So, in my book, we didn't mention, I guess my main book on this issue is 50 Shades of Grey Aliens. And I do have, first of all, I have like 50 pages worth of the kind of slideshow I was showing you. That's in there. And it makes it very obvious where this concept came from. But also a lot of examples of occultism. I mean, off the top of my head, I can recall Whitley Strieber, who claims to have first had these experiences in his meditation room. And of course, subsequently, he claims, oh, now I remember it goes way back to childhood. It seems to me whenever he's falling out of fashion, Whitley Strieber has convenient memories that kind of put him back in the spotlight. But hey, that's probably another issue.
I don't know him, actually. It's great. Well, I mean, have you noticed in our culture that occultism...
You want to get it out, James? I know you're.
I mean, it all has.
I knew it was almost over. I would have let you go on, but go ahead.
Yeah, just oh my gosh, like you see, here they are. They have this religious, cultural narrative of their own, so they're insisting that there's truth to these accounts, at least some of them, and there must be because they can make it fit with their religious narrative. It's a conspiracy. So they've taken the conspiracy to a whole nother level. It's not just an alien conspiracy. It's an alien conspiracy to hide the truth of Christianity, right? It's like, fuck me.
Well, I do not know where the anti-Jesus message from aliens comes from. I looked for information on this, and what I found was to the contrary. People who have claimed encounters with UFOs and aliens often become spiritual, and some find God. If anyone can give me citations to the contrary that are not from, a creationist source, post them in the comments. But I was looking at all the different sources from psychologists to and anything that wasn't religious. You go to Wiki, any of those, they all said the same thing or similar things. People aren't seeming to lose their religion or become demonic and worse people. It's the opposite. They become more humanistic, more spiritual, more religious, more caring about the environment, all these things. And if the demons are saying that and it's bad, I'm a little confused. I also looked up numerous abduction claims, and they differ. They are not all the same, nor do all describe aliens as bald. Some are bald. Some have different types of skin. Some have scales. Some have hair. Some have body hair. And in sci-fi genres, you will find aliens with hair and without hair and all different shapes and sizes and body plans. Just watch Star Trek or Star Wars, and you have plenty of examples of the imagination beyond a triangle-shaped bald head. Who's the Devil James? Ah, there it is. Okay.
There you go. That's for who just said that chat? AR. I'm like, yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch just one episode where they have aliens in any show, any video game, any comic book, you're going to see all different examples. They're not all the same. The imagination is limitless, and people have a lot of fun with their imagination. I was doing it in the AI. You get creative, you punch in a bunch of keywords, and you see what it makes. And it's fun, it's imagination, but it's not real. And then whatever the supernatural claims are, aliens, demons, gods, monsters, magic, etc., reflect the culture and the times people lived in. And this is pretty well known. James said something about it before, and I concur. The stories reflect the times and where people live and what the stories they've been told are. As far as the claims about fantastic speeds by UFOs, it cannot be verified. Claims are made about fantastic speeds and fantastic maneuvers, but based solely on eyewitness accounts. Not from any standard they can be checked against, not even jet fighter pilots, as they are skewed by the speed they travel at relative to other objects. And I also question trigonometry claims when you have a person or a group of folks in one place doesn't give you the trigonometry of how fast either, as that requires multiple data points. So, aliens are demons, Because if you believe in demons from the Bible stories and you believe Jesus has the power to scare off the demons in those stories, that's what you believe. Okay. But none of that is demonstrable. The
No.
Bible says so. Yeah. Is it demonstrable? No. Now, Hugh Ross says 99% of all alien and UFO encounters are explainable naturally, and there is always a 1% left over. So he inserts, aha, those are supernatural, and they must be the demons from his Bible. That is not research, nor is it a data point. It is 99% are explained. That means they were not aliens, nor alien spacecraft, nor abductions, nor anything supernatural. And 1% they couldn't explain. Not that it wasn't explainable. There are many reasons why 1% are left unexplained. It doesn't then equate to its demons. As Ken even pointed out earlier, just because you don't know what something is in the sky doesn't make it aliens, and it also doesn't make it demons. The occult is just another claim made without evidence of anything occultish that is anything but imagination or fictional stories or mental illness, and for the many grifters, an intentional, deliberate hoax to fool people and to make money. What do you think, James?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to get in on that somehow. So I'm going to start having some of my own sightings pretty soon, and then look for the merch.
And almost every time you see, if you go to a bookstore or look it up online, plenty of books about being abducted. That's one of the first things they do is write a book, and some have been made into movies. And if nothing else, your subscriber count went way up on YouTube or something. You're getting something out of it.
Mm-hmm. So do we have more video to watch?
Yeah, we got a few more here.
So before we go forward, real quick, I have an idea, and I would like somebody to work with me on this. It's
Then when
not
you
a-
look at these,
I'm sorry.
not a serious project, real quick, just because before I forget. I would like to write a fictional story where, in an X-Files type of motif, I guess, where we explain Jesus in the context of a whole lot of other lore. So there's this one really malevolent trickster that keeps coming back in different forms. And Jesus was just one of those forms. So he was also the chupacabra and the skinwalker and a bunch of other really problematic entities with problematic ideas and behaviors. And we try to explain it all as it's all one super malevolent trickster being, and Christianity misunderstood it. It's just a thing that I think would be fun to work on. So if anybody thinks that I have some pictures saved up for it, but I don't have them ready. So
there will be something similar to that coming up here.
Nice.
But here again is the Hugh clip, and again I think Ken is getting a lot of his info word for word from Hugh Ross.
close encounters where there's messages, the messages only happen to people who are deeply involved in the occult. There's no evidence of people having a message being sent to them by a UFO craft or a UFO being where the individual has not been deeply involved in the occult.
That's pretty damning right there.
That's Hugh's claim, is that if you want to see aliens, you dabble in the occult, and the aliens will come, which are actually demons, or you will see a UFO. And FYI, we are working on a summoning stream for October 1st, and we're going to put Hugh to the test.
I love that
So
idea. And yes, AR.
we've got the
got a
Ouija board,
Nice.
and we've got tarot cards
Gotta have them.
because these are the two things. And I've got a skull here amongst my my captive desk, and we could find some other spooky stuff, whatever. And we're gonna read the directions. I've never done this before, and some other folks have already shown some interest in joining in. If anybody else wants to join, let me know.
Nice.
And we're gonna play it by the rules. It's unopened, it's brand new. We're gonna open it, we're gonna read the directions and everything, and we should all see aliens and UFOs. So looking forward to it.
That's gonna be, when is that again? That's gonna be really fun.
We're planning it for October 1st to kind of kick off the Halloween month and everything, you know.
Nice.
And that's a Sunday, and we'll do it sometime in the evening because you can't do these things in the daytime. So
Right. Absolutely.
early. The plan is sometime in the evening on Sunday, the 1st. I'll have to check my football schedule, but as long as the Dolphins aren't on, we're a go.
Nice. So before we go further, when he said that that it's always somebody who's been dabbling in the occult, man, there's just two different ways to read that. One is to read it through the idea that it's legitimate. Therefore, you're sort of summoning these entities by dabbling in the occult. The other way to read that's the way I interpret that, right? He says this, and I'm like, that discredits the whole thing, right? You have to already be giving yourself to these ideas and feeding these ideas in your own psyche before you can start having these kinds of experiences. To me, seems to indicate that these people are psyching themselves into it. So
It's the old fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
I think that was something Deconverted Man and I spoke about when I talked to him the other day. Was when he was going to the Pentecostal church, they said, you need to speak in tongues. And he says, well, how do I do that? And they say, well, you just fake it until you, and it's like,
Right.
you just fake it, and then you learn how to do it by faking it. Okay.
Right. Derek from Myth Vision does that a lot. He's got certain strings of sounds that he likes to put together for that. You know, it's because he grew up in that kind of an environment. So I've never practiced it. Like I just couldn't. I can't just laugh if I even try. But yeah.
As far as on a serious note about it, it has been examined by linguistics people and everything, and it's gibberish. They're not. There's no pattern to it or anything. They're just making a bunch of sounds.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, here we go.
Book on this issue is 50 Shades of Grey Aliens. And I do have, first of all, I have like 50 pages worth of the kind of slideshow I was showing you. That's in there.
Mhm.
And it makes it very obvious where this concept came. But also a lot of examples of occultism. I mean, off the top of my head, I can recall Whitley Strieber, who claims to have first had these experiences in his meditation room. And of course, subsequently, he claims, oh, now I remember, it goes way back to childhood. It seems to me whenever he's falling out of fashion, Whitley Strieber has convenient memories that kind of put him back in the spotlight. But hey, that's probably another issue. Or,
I don't know him, actually. It's great. Well, I mean, have you noticed in our culture that occultism, actually, let's go back to that. Burning Man. Have you heard about what happened at Burning Man with that flash flood? Thank you, God.
No.
So Burning Man it's like a huge pagan occultish festival, and it goes on in, I believe, northern Nevada in some desert area. And so they were all there within the last couple of weeks. All of these people, thousands of people, go out there, and the idea is everyone's supposed to bring a gift, and that's how they barter there. That's how they bring money there. They won't buy or sell, but they barter gifts. Like you bring a big basket full of bananas and you trade that for something else. Well, they had porta potties and they had all this stuff set up. They had a place where they were doing orgies and all kinds of stuff, all spiritism and occultish stuff. And suddenly this rain just comes flying down into the desert and completely rains them all out. And then you could see images of the porta potties all filled up to the limits and all kinds of gross stuff. And they couldn't get out of there because their tires were stuck in the ground. It was like the craziest thing. And it's like, I mean, if you cannot believe in God, but these are some pretty interesting coincidences.
Oh my gosh.
Now, thank you, God, for a rained out show. Haha. She does backtrack it later as a joke, and we'll get to that clip too. But I think it's really what is hoped for. And Ken never heard of Burning Man?
Weird.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah, she was serious. She might not want to stand behind the statement, but she clearly was at least entertaining the notion that her God did that in order to smite the pagans, right? And I'm like, come on. First of all, one person died as a result of the initial chaos, and then it's that Texas sharpshooter thing where they don't count all the things that happen bad to churches, right? If it's a church or a church event or something, oh well, it's just a random act of nature or a random event or whatever. But if it happens to atheists or pagans or whatever, oh look, the Lord is smiting them, and I'm like, come on, just stop.
and I say, I cannot believe in God, because she said you cannot believe in God, and it's like, yeah, I cannot believe in God, and no, it can rain in the desert and have a flash flood.
Yeah.
And is it the same act of God when a family or group of scouts are out camping or hiking and get caught in a flash flood that has a tragic end? Is it humorous when that happens to a family or a group of scouts?
No,
It's not.
and I think she realized it at some point. Like you said, she tries to walk it back later, but
we'll get to that in a minute here.
Yeah.
All right, now we're getting to some of the good stuff now. All right, you ready? Buckle in.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched this like 50 times, so I know it by heart from editing it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's going to be running through my my dreams tonight as I speak to the aliens. So
Well, now speaking of, I've found that if we think about if we break down what aliens are telling us, and for some reason they like to speak in cheesy British accents, like a James Bond villain when they're channeled, and also they like to use New Age terms. So let's say you boil down what we've been told that aliens are telling us throughout the many decades now. It's a perfect form of misinformation in my mind, because their points are good, but their solutions are bad. So they'll say like, well, you humans are polluting the planet, you're destroying your planet. Yeah, okay, absolutely, that's accurate. And you humans, you're always battling each other over politics, right? Territory. Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing that all along. And you humans are fighting over religion and theology. Yeah, we've also been doing that for millennia. So, I agree down the line, but their solution is, therefore, you should form a one world government and a one world religion, and you should worship the earth. It's like, well, why is it that if I read, say, the book of Romans, chapter 1, and then the book of Revelation, how come those are the things we're warned against?
Yeah.
Is that a coinky dink? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, I mean, that's the whole thing, like with the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and his whole transhumanist idea, and they're going to implant these things into your minds, and so they can read your minds. And they're going to do, they've got all these plans that they're trying to work on that go towards a one world government. They wanted to seize on COVID because they thought it was an opportunity to have some sort of an incident that could unite everybody and shut us all down.
And recall that I mentioned that I'm noticing the same patterns, whether I'm looking at transhumanism or this alien phenomena. It's the same exact pattern. It's all the same. It's just in a different guise, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you think about, how is it that
he doesn't know what he's saying?
They're throwing everything, and I don't want to get nailed by YouTube, so let's not use the words that SJ used. But yes, dancing around the virus issue there. That's a conspiracy by the one world government, Illuminati, lizard people, whatever they want to be.
Right.
I mean, it's just, yeah, he keeps throwing these things in there.
That's just crazy. It's like so many layers of crazy, I lost count. And it's like they don't even know what they're saying. Like even transhumanism as a concept has nothing to do with any of that stuff. And also, Revelation doesn't warn about any kind of one world government. That's not a thing. In fact, what the Hebrews and the early Christians wanted is exactly a one world government. That's exactly what they were hoping would happen in their lifetime, right? They never talked about, oh no, we have to make sure there's never a one world government. They were like, we really need a one world government, right? It's like,
Well,
are they reading their Bible backwards? Like, what's that?
the Abrahamic faiths all think that they're going to have the rule one day, anyways. It's
Yeah.
either going to be Christians, Jews, or Muslims, and you're going to have to follow their rules as a one world, ruler. So, yeah, that's what you guys believe and want and hope for, and seems to be serious projection that no, that's what you want. And it's like, I don't want that,
No. And even when the government's talking about, even when the governments, the United Nations or whatever, talk about harmony and they never talk about a one world government, and they never talk about, well, we need to consolidate power so that we can get more people to worship trees. Like that just didn't happen. They never
No.
talk about paganism. They never talk
No.
about worshiping nature, ever.
I guess if you want to pass environmental things that you're worshiping nature, but again, you can defer to the Bible, and I think I'm going to mention it here pretty soon. The Bible also says some things about being good stewards of the earth, and maybe you shouldn't pollute it and ruin the atmosphere.
Right.
This is almost done.
These aliens became super high tech and look the way they do. Well, because they evolved for millions of years beyond what humans have reached yet, and therefore they developed these high tech means of travel. And it's the same exact thing that we just saw going all the way back to H.G. Wells over a century and a half ago. And so what's interesting is that there are quite a few people nowadays saying, you know what, all this stuff isn't about aliens from other planets. They are starting to say more and more, these are actually humans from the future that are coming back to visit us. So, I mean, that same basic seed that H.G. Wells planted way back then.
Okay, now where he got aliens all talk in a British accent, I have no idea. No idea where he got that one from. That is,
I don't even know.
I couldn't even find that.
Maybe Doctor Who. Maybe, I don't know. Other than that,
so yeah, I couldn't find that information, and I try to look. Okay, and she mentioned some people's names coming up, and I looked them all up. Anything I don't know or recognize or don't know the people or who they are or what their credentials are, I'm looking it up. Okay, so I'm looking, and I can't find no British speaking accented aliens. Okay, and what I did find is, again, the descriptions from people vary as much as everything else as to what they sounded like, or if they even spoke at all, because some of them are just telepathic. They don't speak at all. So, and yes, Ken, humans have a bad track record, and religions haven't changed that. If anything, they made things worse. But then we go over the edge with a one world government and worship the earth. I again cannot find this information, but I did find stories to the contrary, where people become more spiritual, more humanistic, and is not what these folks, for the most part, are saying about their experiences. And they are not about these one world order conspiracy theories that seem to be more prevalent in the Christian circles. Now, how's come believers read the Bible and find all kinds of things in there post hoc? Because that's what you do, okay? You're looking in there post hoc and you're, aha, that's what this means. But you didn't know that before then, and that's the problem. And then it goes to time travelers, okay? But again, if the time travelers are coming back here to warn us about something, whatever it is, how is that demons trying to deceive people? Because if they're saying, hey, let's say if you don't shut down this factory somewhere, it's going to blow up and bad things are going to happen. It's going to spread poison all over. And they're trying to warn you of an impending doom or harm to somebody, I'm not getting how that's demons trying to deceive people. What do you think, James? Are you getting deceived?
I'm sorry, what was that last thing you said?
Are the environmentalists deceived? Are we all deceived about, dumping poison in our water? I mean,
Right.
I'm
So
not understanding how that's deceiving us.
right. So the demons want us to have clean water and air and earth and to all get along, right, in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the angels, the good guys, want to make sure that we pollute the world as much as possible and we don't get along. And that way the end can come. That's just it. Demons want to help preserve this world and make everything okay so that people are safe and healthy. And the angels want everything to go to hell because they want to issue in the new kingdom. And this is really the fight that we're caught up in, clearly, right? So it's a good thing SJ was here to just let us know what the real deal is.
Yeah, I was, like I said, buckle up, because you start getting a lot more lost as they go along here. And yeah, here we go. Buckle in.
In fruition. And,
Yeah.
and that's why, they're really trying to warn us about the earth and all that stuff, because in the future it's so messed up that they're trying to come back and prevent that from happening. I mean, we've seen this stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I think that people don't realize is when you do practice in the occult and you do actively try to channel demons, they think they're channeling their dead grandmother or something like that, and rather who's coming isn't your dead grandmother, even if the demon has manifested as if it looks like your dead grandmother. It's a demon. That's who you've channeled. You've just brought attention to yourself, and now you got to break those chains or you're going to be oppressed or somehow victimized.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple more examples. The Billy Meyer case. He claims he had those experiences in an ashram while he was living in India. And Jason Horsley, an acquaintance of mine, had this sort of phenomena of experience while he was in a Buddhist retreat. And a good friend of mine also had some sort of UFO encounter when he was really mixed up in an abusive occult situation. I mean, it's like you cannot get away from it. Or one telling example is Sean Stone, when he was doing the Jesse Ventura show, Conspiracy Theory. They went to investigate Skinwalker Ranch. And at night, they're out there, and Sean Stone's kind of just looking down and grabbing his forehead. And someone asks him, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm summoning the spirits." It's like, well, wait a minute. You're supposed to be out there investigating aliens and UFOs. And what you claim you're out there doing is that you're summoning spirits? I mean, what kind of context is that to jump from the one to the other? And I think that you'll recall that I pointed out that in the case of Dr. Stephen Greer, he makes a lot of good points, just like the aliens make a lot of good points. And then in the end, you popped in and out, but I could see that I was still live, so I took over your show.
Good. No, I know. I looked and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, internet went out. Yeah. So what do you think about Dr. Stephen Greer? What do you think about
You saw that comment I posted on one of your videos, so I was just repeating it, which is Greer makes a lot of really good points, just like the aliens do. But in the end, he's like, hey, let's get together in the middle of the woods and engage in occult rituals to summon aliens.
That's the concern.
What just happened here?
Yeah, Greer thinks these are friendly creatures, and he wants to communicate with them, and so he's engaging in the occult. That's what scares me about him.
And
So it's the occult if it's not a biblical creature, but it's totally righteousness if it's a biblical creature, right? That's how they literally demonize everything outside their own narrative. In the meantime, I keep thinking about the Witch of Endor, right? First Samuel, I think it's chapter 28, context, the spirit of Samuel for King Saul. And
but that's
Samuel,
okay.
right? So Samuel, they literally in the story, right? And the story says that when they did the seance or whatever and summoned the spirit, it was really the person that they were trying to find, right? So in the spirit, Samuel was kind of annoyed, like, why are you bothering me, right? But so here we only have one example in Bibles where that kind of a thing even happens. And the Bible story says, yep, if you summon somebody from the dead, you probably will actually get the person that you summoned, right? But here's SJ disagreeing with her own Bible to say, no, you're only going to get a demon, right? That's all that can happen. And I'm like, okay.
That's why back to the very beginning of the video. Is it going to lead to it's all demons? It looks like it's leading to it's all demons.
It has to be. That's the only way they can satisfy their religious narrative.
Because if someone plays with a Ouija board, they can summon their dead relatives, but they aren't really, because they are demons that they are summoning. but that's not demonstrable.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And what did Ken say about, isn't it convenient to leap to these conclusions? Ken, I'm using your own arguments against you and your own points against you. Yes, it's very convenient to just leap to a conclusion. And Ken, you lost me. The demons say, be good to each other and take care of the planet, to deceive us into thinking they are good.
Right.
Isn't it good to take care of each other and the planet? And doesn't the Bible also say, be good to each other and be good stewards of the planet? Okay. But that's bad though.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 I'm totally lost how these messages are from demons and are bad. I just how I'm not I don't know. I usually have a lot to say, but I don't have a lot to say here. I just don't know what to say. It's like hearing there's global cooling when all the thermometers say otherwise. It's what do you say?
Every day is opposites land for Christians. That's all I know. Every day is opposites day for Christians.
All right, and we're gonna get to the backtracking here.
I want to clarify something in the audience. I got Diagoras in there, and he keeps saying stuff about the rain. I've kind of said that as a joke. It's funny. Oh, isn't it coincidence that it pours in where Burning Man was? And I didn't mean to say that that's definitely the scourge from God. That was just sort of saying it, just joking around. And so everyone, sometimes people take people so seriously. They think that every statement you say is you're saying, God, this is what God did. He decided he was going to put the rain. I can't say that that's what God did. I can say it's a funny coincidence that happened to happen. But am I saying that rain in the desert is unusual? Yes. Am I saying well, what about hurricanes in Florida? Well, those aren't terribly unusual. Those are usual. We've been getting hurricanes in Florida for centuries. And so that's just how it is. We get them all the time.
Okay, well, SJ is kind of backtracking that it was God's wrath on Burning Man, while discounting the wrath that same God seems to throw at Florida with hurricanes. Probably because she lives there. So it can't be wrath there where she is, right? How many lives are lost and how much suffering on how many ensues due to hurricanes in Florida? So yes, it's a funny coincidence from God, or it's just, you can find humor in rain in the desert, but not when people are injured or harmed or anything. It kind of takes the humor away from it. But is it a fun coincidence from God when the natural disasters happen only to certain people? It's not very funny when you break it down, because God really seems to hate Florida.
Right.
But SJ lives in Florida. So
Oh, yeah.
the hurricanes obviously are not God's wrath. That's just how it is in Florida. You see how she just blew it off.
Right. Or the hurricane, or God's just really mad at SJ for all the crazy things she says. And that's what the hurricanes are for. He's smiting Florida because of her.
And I hope SJ appreciates that we're having a little fun at her expense, and
Sure,
that she can take the joke back. Okay, SJ, because SJ and I have kept it civil, and I hope we keep it civil. So
I appreciate that. I do.
And let me see. Okay, next clip. We're almost to the last ones here, so we're wrapping it up.
And another statement I noticed is a question here that goes, engaging with a friendly alien would be a cult? Well, again, I have absolutely no idea what you mean by alien, but that would kind of be like, how do you define friendly? Is a friendly alien the kind that comes to you and tells you they're from another dimension and then tells you to not believe in Jesus or the Bible? Is that a friendly alien? How do you determine that? And
okay, this is how they're going to recover from the bad joke. Ken is talking about aliens that are aliens, okay? Beings from another planet or dimension. But then all of a sudden he doesn't know what aliens are again, or what we're even talking about after how much this 3/4 of the video have gone by. And he's back to the wordplay of, well, I don't even know what they mean by aliens. And it's like,
Right.
again, I think everybody, I put the thing on the screen here. Okay. Can you see it? What is it? That away? No, that away. That way. There we go. It's right there. Say alien. That's what I think of. Say alien. Most of the world's population. This is what they think of, Ken. Okay. We're not thinking of anything else. This is what we're thinking of. So I don't know what he's talking about. Again, he just all of a sudden he throws in there, well, I don't even know what an alien is. Okay, Ken. You've been talking about aliens, and now you don't know what it is. All right. And I would like to know where Ken or SJ gets the citations of anti-Jesus aliens. Again, I found people who have claimed experiences with aliens or UFOs become more spiritual and more religious, and some find God and become more humanistic. Demons may not like Jesus, but people who have alien encounters are not all saying demons nor bad messages. They seem to be good messages or warning of impending events with good intent in the warnings. And again, we were just, kind of having a little fun with it, that we're not seeing the bad message in be good to each other and take care of the planet. And I can't find, obviously, if you go to some of the extreme fringe sites, you could find that it's all demons saying don't believe in Jesus. But I covered the Betty and Barney Hill story on the Grassman Chronicles. And first of all, when abductions only happen during these demon hours of 12 to 3 or something, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction began at 10:30 at night. So that's out the window. And this is one of the big famous ones that a lot of people have mimicked since. They also said the aliens had hair. So I'm just not getting where they have this message of don't believe in Jesus, because nothing in the Betty and Barney Hill story ever mentioned anything remotely about that. They were just basically wanted to say, hey, we're not going to harm you. We just want to do a few tests on you and we'll be on our way. That was it. So where they're getting all this stuff from, I don't know. I looked. Now, I don't go look at a lot of the fringe sites because obviously they probably do say that, but overwhelmingly and across, especially the big abduction stories that everybody's heard about, I didn't find a one that said don't believe in Jesus. So, Ken, SJ, if you got a citation, let me know, okay?
These time-traveling British accented anti-Jesus aliens.
Anti-Jesus. And he even pointed out, why would aliens care about Jesus? And it's like, yeah, why would they? I mean, it doesn't, I don't know. Like I say, it's almost near the end here and it's getting thick. So let's hit it here.
I might have to go in a minute.
That's all right. I understand.
Would be occult. Again, it depends on what alien is, because okay, let me take a step back. I'm not claiming all alien and UFO phenomena are occult. Obviously not, because if you watch this from the beginning, I gave you categories and subcategories that have actually nothing to do with the occult, such as black government ops and hallucinations. I mean, that right there. But is there an aspect of these phenomena that are occultic? Well, I don't have to tell you about it. Just listen to the people talking about it. The ones that.
Okay. Ken did say not all encounters can make the leap to aliens. But he also said there are ties known about to some of these encounters via the occult. that cannot be demonstrated. So to make the leap to its demons because someone was talking about it or they told you so is the leap you said folks shouldn't make without evidence.
They're talking about their own supposed experiences. They are the ones who are telling us this stuff. And my book is filled with examples. I mean, they're the ones doing it. I'm just pointing them out. Now, if you want to talk demonism for a minute, I do think demons are the occult theory of everything. And it's not just because I can be like the church lady on Saturday Night Live and just slap the term demon on any given phenomena. It's not because of that. It's because of what is told to us about their characteristics and their behavior, and how in the cases of the things that we're talking about, of course, they would want to claim to be advanced, and therefore we should listen to them and start telling us to not believe in Jesus or the Bible and to not be Christians. I mean,
Yeah, and that's what a lot of them are doing. That's what people say. Oh yeah, I had this message from this spirit from the other side and said I shouldn't believe in Jesus. I mean, clearly, right? It's always Jesus.
And again, don't make a leap to aliens or demons, but let's make the leap to aliens and demons because someone said so. Isn't the Bible you believe in a book of someone saying how to be good to others and the earth and just trust them and listen to them? But that's an alien demon's message and not true. Your arguments seem to fail when used back against your beliefs. I'm guessing there is an exception for your beliefs, though, yes? Get ready. This is going to get good.
No, that's the thing. Now I have listened. I'll just say, kind of piggybacking on some of these ideas that we've talked about tonight. I've listened to a number of different exorcists. I just love listening to exorcists because I find their stories are fascinating. And I watched that movie Nefarious, and so through these listenings, Carlos Martins, Dan Rehill, a whole bunch of other ones, Father Ripperger, what's some other names? Anyway, there was just a bunch of them. A lot of them have some common things. They say demons are very legalistic, like extremely legalistic and extremely consistent. And so you can figure out what the demons are going to do that way. But the other thing is, when they have with somebody to appear around somebody, one of the things they do is they try as hard as they can to get the person to commit suicide because then they have the rights to them in the afterlife. And so that's why, and they can get in through little portals like Ouija boards and all tarot cards and all that kind of stuff. And so, or they could get in through Hawaiian lava that Pele has supposedly taken a look at and cursed. And so there's all these ways that they can get into your house, get into your shelter.
Or through looking to aliens as your saviors. They're going to come and they're going to fix us. They're going to set us straight. They're going to fix our planet. They're going to tell us true spirituality.
Mm-hmm. They're going to give you special powers.
Same thing.
Yeah, Hugh Ross points this out too, but this idea of power seeking, like you're getting some special power, you're able to maybe read people's minds, or you're able to do teleport. You know, people have made claims that they can actually teleport in some way. So there's all this kind of strange stuff going on that they're given powers to curse people if they want. And so,
right. So
oh boy, I'm sure they are. So demons are everywhere. We've gotten to that point, James. The demons are everywhere and in everything, even in lava. And they get into your home. And yet, as Ken explained earlier, most of those claims are not aliens or UFOs, nor then demons either, because you can't just make that leap to demons. But everything is demons, even rocks. And they are going to get you and tell you bad things, like be a good person no matter what. I fail to see the problem in that message, no matter who or what delivers it. Superpowers. Yes. People claim to have superpowers, like reading minds, that cannot be demonstrated. While to the contrary, those who are tested show they do know better than anyone else at guessing. Hugh Ross is over the edge when it comes to UFOs and aliens, that they are really invisible demons, and of course he sees demons everywhere and in everything. He even talks about other scientists curled up in the corner yelling profanities at him when he enters the room because they are demons. Video of such an occurrence does Hugh have? No. Can Hugh demonstrate demons existing? No. Is Hugh over the rainbow talking about aliens are demons? Yes. No one is gaining superpowers outside of science fiction stories. Still there, James?
Yeah,
Or
I'm here.
have you gotten any superpowers from the demons?
I may have a vampire power. I'm able to keep my ex from coming around, so it could be the garlic breath, though I'm not really sure. But other than that, no special powers that I'm aware of.
No, I don't have any either. Now, that may change come October 1st. But I've been a heathen a long time, and there's no demons, no voices in my head, and no superpowers. So I'm getting gypped, SJ. I'm sorry to tell you, but just as boring here as at your house. There's nothing magical going on. So be almost to the end here.
My other 7 or so books on the alien and UFO phenomena are actually movie review books, because I started reviewing movies with alien and UFO themes. But I mean, my style of movie reviews isn't about the cinematography or the acting and all that stuff. I don't care about. It's what's the message behind it? What's the worldview philosophy? What are they trying to tell us? And so, for instance, if you think about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you might think, well, there's no real occultism in that story. But there is, because you have poltergeist-like phenomena.
Okay. Let's see if we can't get anything that isn't what Hugh Ross says. Okay. Now, I haven't heard Hugh Ross say this about Close Encounters. So I've seen Close Encounters many times, and I don't remember poltergeist activity. I know they were driven to go to Devil's Tower, but the abductions were abductions, and I don't remember the poltergeist. Now, granted, I haven't watched it recently, but I mean, I must have seen it a dozen times, and I'm not seeing where there's poltergeist or occult or anything else in there. I think Ken sees things in fictional stories that aren't there. As he said, most of his books are movie reviews where he is searching for deeper meanings that ain't there. It's a fictional movie, Ken, that's all. You aren't going to find any Da Vinci codes in it unless you watch that movie. And only in that movie do they exist. He thinks, James, is he looking for things that aren't there?
He doesn't have to look very hard. His brain already thinks there's things that aren't there, so he just keeps on adding to it.
And that is what the bulk of his books are. He's got a lot of books, but most of them are they're not large books or anything, but he's looking at the movies and he's finding the Da Vinci codes in all the movies and what they really mean and what the message really is and what they're trying to tell you. And it's almost that letter of the alphabet I don't think YouTube likes either, but the people behind the Orange Man, that's the same kind of nonsense. So we got a couple little shorties here, and we'll be wrapping it up.
Just like you were saying right now about how is it that interacting with aliens suddenly gives you superpowers. And it's that kind of concept of how come what we're told by people who claim to have experiences with aliens and what we're told by people who claim to have experiences with poltergeists, again, occultism, how come they're saying the same sort of things? I mean, that's kind of been well known for quite a few decades now, if not over half a century, at least in academia. I'm not just talking about people making claims, but the people who actually research this stuff at a level. They noticed that almost straight away.
Okay. People are not getting superpowers. Okay. Not from aliens or demons or Jesus. Sorry. There is no research into people having superpowers that could ever demonstrate anything superhuman in a controlled environment. To the contrary, when tested, people who claim to have superpowers have been shown to not have them and or are knowingly, intentionally deceiving people for profit.
Yeah, a lot in common, and it's very risky for people. But the interesting thing is, I mean, just like I listened to this guy Howard Storm, and he was an atheist who had a near death experience, and he went into hell, and he was being attacked by these people who were just really angry, and they were tearing at him and doing all kinds of horrible things. And he said that all of a sudden he gets this strange idea in his mind that told him audibly, he could hear his own voice say, "Pray, you need to pray." And he just all of a sudden he said something about praying, and the demons or the people just started avoiding him. They couldn't stand this idea of praying. And then he said, "Jesus Christ, save me," or something like that, or "Please save me." And then it all ended. He saw the light and he went into heaven, or he went towards heaven. So it was kind of a cool story.
Okay. I looked up Howard Storm, and he passed out due to excruciating pain and dreamed it was all gone. And Jesus took him on a tour of heaven. People dream lots of things. And in Howard's case, he, of course, dreamed of no pain and heaven because he had just passed out due to hours of excruciating pain in his abdomen. And Howard described the beings he saw as being dressed in what he described as like hospital scrubs because he was in the hospital. As Ken said, what a coinkydink. Now, I feel sorry for him. I had some stomach issues, and it hurts. And it hurts really, really, really bad. And it was all I could do to get to the hospital and beg them to give me something for the pain. So I feel for the guy. He passed out from the pain. And when he passed out, he kicked into a dream. His body shut off the pain. He immediately felt better in his dream, and I'm sure it was a relief to the body. And that is why the body does that as a self-defense mechanism. And the beings he saw, oddly enough, wore outfits similar to hospital scrubs because he was in the hospital. And I'm glad he, made it. And it was a near-death experience, which means he didn't die. So, and Howard's still around, still telling his story many years later. So, hey, good for him. But your story is very explainable, and the more you listen to him, the more it's just an exaggeration of natural things, obviously in a dream. And he also said that he went to hell, but then Jesus came and got him out of hell. And I'm like, I missed that part. I mean, I thought if you go to hell, that's it. But no, some people, Jesus decides to go to hell and say, nope. Just kidding with you. Come on up to heaven with me.
April Fools.
April Fools, right? So don't give up hope. Even if you wake up dead and you're in hell, Jesus may just show up and say, just messing with you. See the hidden camera over there?
My gosh.
So Howard's story is like many other stories and unlike many other stories because, again, they have similarities and they have many differences. And if they're all actually going to the afterlife, why are the places different? Why are the stories different? Because it's what you already believe, what you've already heard or read, and it's in your brain when you're having these dreams. It's a dream.
Mm-hmm. Sydney Raptor. He wasn't worthy, said Satan.
And we're gonna I think he's getting a little annoyed with my comment here because he had to mention it. So see if you notice the annoyance with how he responds to my comment.
Yeah.
So Ken, is there anything else that we should chat about? Anything we've missed today as we kind of get near the end of an hour or so?
Well, just my main thing would be that with which I started, which is define your terminology, understand what category of phenomena you're talking about before jumping off into talking about it. And then also, because in the comment section, they're talking about the movies and comic books I noted. And that's, again, as I repeated a few times, it has to do with the history of ideas. So you can't just really say, well, it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, therefore it's meaningless. Well, no, because a human being actually wrote that, and they wrote it for a reason, and they wrote it based on this history of ideas that they have and the culture has had that leads to them wanting to express something in terms of what they'll call science fiction.
Do you seem to be annoyed with me?
Yeah, he's annoyed with you.
My comment was something like, "It's just a comic book, dude."
Yeah. It's like, it is not just a comic book, dude, because comic books come from real people with real experiences, and all of it's demons, man. All of it.
I say that was my comment, that people dream about movies and comic books, and it doesn't matter what people wrote about aplenty. It's fiction. You can look for the hidden meanings all you like. The Da Vinci Code was also a fictional movie, Ken.
Right.
It is just a movie or a comic book or religious text. It's not a portal to the supernatural. They are not supernatural. And so far, nothing supernatural has been demonstrated to exist. The fiction they are expressing is fiction based on, yes, their culture and times, but it's still fiction. And the meaning was fiction, and why it's called fiction, and why it's in the fiction sections of libraries and search engines.
And what's the point of having to explain what you mean by alien when his explanation is that all of it traces back to demons anyways? If it all traces back to demons, then there's no need to define your terms at all.
Yeah, a lot of the things you're like, yeah, okay. But then it's like setting up the rules for a debate. But then as soon as you start debating him, he changes all the rules. And it's like, now, wait a minute. You started out okay, and you made valid points that you can't just leap to conclusions. But then they seem to leap to conclusions when it's convenient for them.
Right. You don't get to leap to conclusions, but they get to leap to conclusions.
And we're getting just about the end here.
And these are the kind of concepts. So it begins with evolution and high tech, and then it changes into, hey, these aren't actually evolved humans. They're actually aliens from another planet, universe. And then it's kind of coming back around to now, no, these are future humans visiting us. And then the inevitable correlation. I mean, again, you'll find this from their own mouths between occultism and these phenomena. So in terms of, I know that you titled this, Do Space Aliens Exist? And sorry, folks, I'm not here to, to give you the answer. But what I would say is whether actual biological or somewhat ethereal intelligent beings exist in the far reaches of the universe or another universe or another part of the multiverse, to me, that's a question that's so way down the line. It should be the last thing we ever consider, because there's a lot of stuff ahead of it that we do know about already and that we can make correlations to already. Like we know about secret government ops. We know about mental disorders where people claim that they're experiencing things they really aren't. We know about the correlation to occultism. I mean, we know so much already.
And see, there again, he's going along fine. Yeah, we know about these things and mental illness and people seeing you, and we know about the occult. And it's like, no, you can't throw that one in there that we know about the occult. After Ken does this stream talking about aliens, he then says it's the last thing we should be talking about as he writes blogs, articles, and books about aliens. Because we don't know anything about aliens. But we do know all about the occult and demons. No, Ken, we don't. We do not know any more about those claims than aliens, other than people believe in a lot of things they cannot demonstrate exist, including demons and aliens. And are you ready? Here comes one of my favorite parts.
So I see Bread of Life, Captive Desk, Susan, and we have Diagras, and who else is in here? Captive Desk. Yeah, we've got a little crew of people. So I want to say hi to everybody who's in here. So I haven't seen Bread of Life for a while, and so we have to get. Actually, we'd like to get a lot of you on my channel, so feel free to come in here sometime. So what are you working on now, Ken?
Well, I'm thankful that they would join us on an early evening on a Monday. That's really, really nice of you to stop by. I know it was kind of hard for me because I had to rush home from work and then start this. So I do thank you for being out there. And I don't know what I'm working on. My schedule nowadays is insane and unpredictable, so I don't even know what I'm working on. I mean, I have maybe 4 book projects that I should be working on that I sort of am not.
Yeah, I've got books hanging in the back of my. I haven't. It's terrible because I started a book on Catholicism and I started a book on Isaiah, and I haven't even looked at them in so long. It's just like I forgot. I wrote actually quite a bit on both of them, but they're both sitting there.
Now, I do love interacting with people. So if I find myself with some free time, I'll tend to get myself into the comment section of wherever it might be, and then start up a ruckus in a nice way and just have discussions with people. That I really enjoy. But as far as big projects, yeah, I should be working on another alien UFO movie review book, and I should be working on a few others, like part 2 of reviewing the series Raised by Wolves, which is a interesting sci-fi show. And I should be, and I'm sure I'll get around to everything eventually, right?
Any debates coming up?
Nothing like that, not that I know of.
Good. Yeah. So you're if you want to find Ken on Twitter, it's atheism_is_dead. So is atheism dead, or is it alive?
Well, now, do you remember the debate I had with
Jeff? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I found hilarious is the question was whether atheism is dead. And he did this whole big presentation with graphs and charts about how there's more atheists around nowadays and religions going away. And when he was done with that, I just said, hey, that's all irrelevant, because we're not talking about whether atheists exist. We're talking about whether atheism is dead as a concept, as a philosophy. So that was hilarious that his whole opening statement was just really a category error. That's all it came down to. So I just said, yeah, that's a basic level error.
I think it's, see, I always want to know with the atheists if they can make an argument that God does not exist. Craig Reed made a video about this and talked about the ontological question, does God exist? Because I haven't seen strong evidence from them that indicates God doesn't exist. Some might say they haven't had experiences with God's divine hiddenness, or they might say that they've seen some evil things on the planet, but that's just saying that we've seen evil things on the planet. People can be evil.
There's a whole issue with atheism, which is that, for instance, the very concept of that, they'll say you can't prove a negative, but I mean, even the statement you can't prove a negative claims to prove the negative, namely that you can't prove a negative. And of course we can prove negatives, like I don't have a foot at the end of my arm. Look, there it is. It's a hand. I mean, so that's silly stuff. But when it comes down to it, I remember now, you saw a tweet I put out just a few days ago about how we could break this down and blame God for everything, and it wouldn't matter because atheism has no premise upon which to condemn anything anyway. So the atheists discredit themselves instantly.
Well, Moldy Bread was in the chat. She didn't say nothing to me. She, of course, thinks I'm a demon, and yet I don't have no superpowers and no voices in my head.
That's why you were never Demon of the Month.
But Bread does think she has superpowers, and she hears voices in her head, and she trusts them. All the things Ken and SJ have said are from demons deceiving people. And hi back, SJ. I don't think SJ really wants to have me on, but if she wants to hear things she doesn't want to hear, I suppose I could do that on her channel. Or SJ, you can come on my channel and hear them too. And if you noticed, I put the comment up there that Ken is welcome to come on the channel too. Everybody's welcome. If you're going to have, if you want to engage in some civil discourse, you're welcome at the captive desk. And that includes Ken and SJ. So if you guys want to come on and talk about this, you're welcome to come on. If Ken or SJ wants to know what an atheist is and what it isn't, I'm happy to explain that as well, as they don't seem to know what it is, as both of them often misrepresent what it means.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this should be about it coming up here.
I think that's why some use the lack of belief, because then they want to shift the burden of proof into the theist lap.
Yeah, they definitely, that's one of the denominations of atheism, and they definitely watered things down, because when the original, modern era atheists came out and kept claiming to know that God doesn't exist as a positive affirmation, they kept being asked for proof, and they realized they didn't have any, so they just watered things down and took a fallback.
Mm-hmm. Or they slid into new subjects. They said, well, there's 40,000 different denominations of Christianity. So or whatever, it's like, so what? That doesn't address the question of does God exist if there's 40,000 different denominations.
And not only doesn't address it, it neglects the fact that in the Bible, we're told there must be divisions among you, because that's how you can tell the genuine article.
Mm-hmm. Oh, freaking God. I can't believe he just said that.
Of course, it's in the Bible.
I mean, all the different religions have various competing sects. They all do. Like, there's different sects of Hinduism. There's different sects of Islam. Like, does he really? Even other sects of Christianity have sected off further and further and further. Like, he doesn't even know what he's saying. It's embarrassing.
Well, he's going to do it one more time. I think this is the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about what the genuine article is, that's a whole other issue than the fact that we were told to expect these things, just like we were told that there'll be great falling away. So if you try to impress me with statistics about there's less and less Christians, I'll tell you exactly what I said during that debate. Thank you for providing even more evidence that the Bible is prophetically accurate. Appreciate that.
Yeah, the remnant. We're left to a remnant. So
Well, think about that too. I mean, come on. So basically, somebody that wrote some stuff in the Bible predicted that people were going to start to realize that it was bullshit. People are going to start realizing in the last days that this is bullshit, and that's how you could tell it's legitimate. Yeah.
And I have asked SJ and others to give me a prediction from the Bible that is prophetically accurate, that happens after the day they tell me the prophecy. And all have failed to provide me with one. I've asked it on when I was on the talking with the Muslims too on their stream. And they couldn't provide me anything from their prophetic book that happens after the time they tell me. Now, if anybody has one, I do have a video on my channel that basically says, hey, if you've got a prophecy, post it and a what, a where, and a when, and we'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that day, and we can discuss if it happened or not. And I've asked numerous believers of different faiths, and so far I've got a big goose egg. But the offer is there. If somebody can give me something prophetic from a religious text or from an old book they found buried in their crawl space, wherever you get it from, your tea leaves, a crystal ball, doesn't matter to me. If it's something specific, a what, a where, and a when that happens after the time you tell me, or email it to me, or post it in the comments section, and preferably within, like the next 20 years. So, I might still be around. Okay. If you can do that, let's do it. And when that day comes, we'll see if it happens or not. Otherwise, afterwards is just post hoc. And that's what I say is otherwise it's post hoc. Anything that isn't going to convince me of prophecy in the Bible, nor most any other skeptics either, as I or we can post hoc things all day long. Actually telling you what's going to happen in the future, I cannot do with any accuracy, nor can anyone else. It doesn't happen as far as it has not been demonstrated. Even when I said, like I said, I openly ask for it and make the offers, none have been provided. It's all post hoc. If you want proof gods do not exist, it's because they fail to materialize in reality. They cannot be demonstrated, same as all supernatural claims. And so, for all intents and purposes, they do not exist. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. A lack of evidence for aliens doesn't equate to aliens existing, and a lack of evidence for gods doesn't equate to gods existing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the way the cleaning out of the church. You get the very strong Christians who are going to remain. God spits out the lukewarm, according to Revelation. So, yeah.
We go from aliens and UFOs to demonology and now atheism. All in one show.
Only on one show. Yeah. Is it good stuff?
And that's it. And we'll have a closing graphic here. I hope everybody appreciates my playing around with the graphics. I'm getting a little better at it. So I've been playing around a little more, adding in the aliens and the UFO flying around and everything. So
Nice.
learning all the ins and outs of doing some graphics and everything. So I hope to have a lot better graphics to come with my videos. So
That was pretty sweet, though. I liked it. You zoom into the eye and then it goes dark. I like
did
it.
you like that? It was pretty
I
cool.
love it.
So in conclusion, Ken has some very far out ideas. Hang on, let me drop this out here. Okay,
I'll tell you what, after he comes on your show, I'd love to have him over on mine, if he ever does.
and I say it's a sincere invitation to SJ, to Ken, to just about anybody that will engage in civil discourse. Now, there are a few people I do not believe can engage in civil discourse, and I have no desire to have a dumpster fire or anything else. If you want to do that, that's what Donnie Deal's channel's for or something else. So stay over there, okay?
Donnie deals in dumpster fires.
Yeah. Now, like I say, Ken has some very far out ideas that seem to stem from his belief in the Bible and from taking science fiction movies way too seriously. Repeating Hugh Ross as a credible source on aliens and UFOs, when Hugh Ross is over the edge when he discusses aliens and UFOs as actually being interdimensional demonic beings that are invisible, and why we don't have alien bodies or their spacecraft around all the craters on Earth, is not adding credibility to the claims you make that you think it is. Nor is SJ citing so-called exorcists like, and I looked these guys all up, Carlos Martinez, Chad Ripperger, or Dan Rehill. And they make a lot of claims, possessions, people floating around, objects floating around. And again, it only seems to happen in countries that for some reason do not have any cameras.
Aliens and demons are very camera shy.
They do tell a good story, but like all supernatural claims, they cannot provide any evidence nor demonstrate them in a controlled environment. And to quote Ken again, it's just trust me with no evidence at all, right? That should be seen as not credible. And when you hear that, you should see it as probably a fraud. Or if you are a believer and see it as a demon, don't listen to them, because anything they tell you is a deception, like being a good person and taking care of the environment. As far as the hearing about aliens and UFO stories that Ken says speaks for themselves, it's nonsense from people who are mistaken, or not credible, or just out to make a buck selling books or have their 15 minutes of fame. As to Hugh Ross going off the deep end on aliens, when he was, I thought, a moderate believer, seems I was wrong. I'm going to repeat that. I was wrong. And I'm correcting myself. I'm changing my mind about Hugh Ross as being a moderate, as he seems to be anything but when the conversation goes to aliens and UFOs, are invisible demons in invisible spacecraft, and how the demons curl up in the corner and cuss him out when he gives lectures because they know he is a Christian and the occult is driving it all. Of course, again, it's convenient, as Ken says, that Hugh only has this happen to him in other countries that, again, for some reason, do not have any cameras anywhere. Nor does he ever name these people he knows who are scientists and are in the occult and or are demons. Pretty sure if he named these people, they would have something to say about it. I do not think any aliens or alien spacecraft have visited us. Nor do I think they are demons pretending to be aliens, out to fool the Christians. I think people have experiences of many sorts, but how they interpret them is often suspect. And it is usually aligning with the culture, what they are predisposed to believe in, and the fact that 99% of alien and UFO encounters can be explained as things that were not aliens, were not supernatural, and were not brought about by any occult activities that some people may believe in, but none of these claims can be demonstrated or have any good evidence for them. Ken may say I am arrogant and closed-minded, but asking for evidence is not unreasonable for any claim that is extraordinary. And when none is provided, it's reasonable to dismiss the claim while not ignoring the possibility that something in the future may be proven that indeed life exists elsewhere in the universe, and that they may be traveling the stars. For now, what ifs are aplenty. What can be demonstrated, or what is known to be, based on demonstrable evidence, is another matter. Surely it is possible life exists elsewhere in the universe. Surely it's possible they have developed technology to travel the stars. And surely, if that is true, one day it will be known. But today it is not known, and it's reasonable to wait and see. What do you think? Are we being visited by aliens? Are the aliens visiting us as demons to fool Christians into leaving their faith? Are the stories of aliens and UFOs being or not being demons credible? Did you watch, and what did you think about the hearings on UFOs the Congress in the USA held on the aliens and the UFOs? Let me know in the comments. James, any closing comments from you?
No, everything you said sounds reasonable, even though demons are totally real. Go Jesus! That's it. That's all I want to say.
And Bree stopping through, and Mike stopping through. Hello, BS. Hello. I think I said hey to Brian, Sydney. Hello. Everybody else that was joining. There's a lot of comments going on. Really cool. All right. Having great conversations. Deacon Verdeman was here. A lot of people rolling through. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, SJ, if you watch this, it was all in good fun. It's not personal, and you're welcome to come on anytime. Goes for Ken as well. The invitation is serious, and my guests all get the same treatment. We have civil discourse, and I get to ask a few questions. You can ask a few questions back. It's all fair. And, generally everybody in the audience too would be welcome to have the conversation. And I'm sure they would be as civil as possible in the comments. And I think that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this review. I appreciate James stopping through. Looks like he had to duck out, but James, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the input, and it's always good to talk to you. And if you enjoyed this review, if you did, give it a thumb up, leave me a comment, and if not subscribed, remedy that with a bell so you can get notified for future videos. And if you could follow what was said in this video better than I could, please get a hold of me or comment below and explain it. Okay, I appreciate it, because I got lost a few times and so did James. So it wasn't just me. And until next time, be well, take care of each other, and I hope to see you then.